What's up? Welcome back. I am Celine Dion. Wait, no, that doesn't feel right. No, it's what's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And this is a review of I Am Celine Dion. Not that I am Celine Dion, but you know, I might be able to hit some hit some of those notes. I'm not. No, no. Anyway, it's on Amazon. It's got audio description by Media Access Group, narrated by Claudia Dunn. So we'll talk about that as well. It's a documentary. I would call it. It's an observational documentary. We're gonna go with that. Some may say it's a diary type of documentary, but it's not really because it's not really shot by Celine Dion, so it's more of an observational documentary. It's a lot of watching her life, just sitting there and watching her do things, and then she'll speak to the camera and tell us about her condition, her life, her struggles, the things that made her happy, the things that now make her sad, what's hard for her, what she wants people to know, what she wants people to understand. It's supposed to be a love letter to fans, and I'm not a crazy fan about the direction of this. It's not that I dislike what Celine wants to do with the project. I just don't know that this is assembled in a way where I think narratively the structure supports her the best. It's a lot of jumping around. Like, even when we come back to her more present day, in terms of the, obviously not present day because they have had to shoot this and it's got edited and there were time and film festivals and stuff and it got here. So not literally present day, but in the present day sense of the film, I should say. Even in that period, it doesn't always seem like is it? Are we current? Or is it just like kind of like pieced together of her thoughts and then used wherever the filmmaker thought it would work best? The best comparisons that I can come up with are two other documentaries about two other people who were stricken with something and don't work that much anymore. Val and Still. Both of those documentaries, I think, are better structured in terms of being able to show us both the reasons why somebody isn't where they are, while also celebrating the career that was. I think this just doesn't quite have a structure to it, in a way that those two documentaries really strongly supported both facets of those lives. Val specifically, really does kind of let Val Kilmer tell his story because it's a lot of footage that he shot over the years. Apparently he was walking around with a camera his whole life, so it's a lot of this neat sort of behind the scenes footage of things that we never got to see before, but all represent past him and the way he used to be and the way things used to be. So his story and when we talk about his story and the kind of actor he used to be and this filmmaker, it's really clear what we're talking about. And then also Still, a Michael J. Fox story, uses footage from his films to sort of narratively push the story forward in terms of the documentary. I Am Celine Dion just kind of bounces around. It's got some performances. It's got some talking. Her kids are there. We do talk about the husband. She goes to the funeral. She sings All by Myself and breaks down. But it all feels like a structure where you're like, is this the place where this goes? Because from what I remember and knowing my story about Celine Dion, and it doesn't go into like a lot of this stuff because, you know, gossipy news outlets were always like the age gap and the fact that he kind of discovered her and what those suggestions were back in the day. So obviously she's not going to comment on any of that, but and because of that, we don't necessarily get it tied in as much because she doesn't want to be like, well, I was a young girl and this man came to me and was like, do you want to sing? And I was like, yes, I want to sing. And then later we fell in love. Like, she obviously doesn't want to do that. So it dodges that. And it just kind of represents him as being like a part of her life that was meaningful. But I don't know that it supports any sort of narrative structure of Celine Dion's life in a way where we can see who she was to who she is now, you know, which is basically what this structured documentary does, which is because it's always like, this is like for the fans. I want you to understand where I'm at. I'd love to be doing that. I'd love to still be doing that. But this is why I can't do that right now. This is what makes it hard for me to do that right now. And I get that this is from the female perspective, and the other two were from male perspective docs, and I can't immediately think of something that was from the female perspective that was also like, you know, this is why I can't do this. But I do feel like the way that it's structured, it could have also just been all present day and just really gone into and not really focused at all on who she was and just focused on who she is, because the film is called I Am Celine Dion, not I Was Celine Dion. So it could have just focused on stiff person syndrome and how that affected her and picked up from there and just stuck in that window and not needed to remind us of who she was, as if we didn't know. You know, for the people who click on this documentary going, who is Celine Dion? Let's find out. Like, the Gen Alphas out there who are like, I don't know who this is. I guess I'll find out by watching the documentary. It's like, read a book. I don't know, Google. I don't know. I don't know how to help you. It could have just done that as well. So, yeah, I'm just not a fan of the narrative structure. I think it's a strong story, and I think Celine really had all of the best intentions with this doc to open up her life. I think she's genuinely opening up her life as much as she can. We see her in pain, in like some tremendous amounts of pain. If she is like on the sly, like a nasty person to people, they cut that from the film. So she seems to be a delightful human being. Her son seems to enjoy her. Her son seems to be too young also to coach him into liking her. Like, if he didn't want to be in this documentary, I think you'd pick up on it. If like he was, every time the cameras were in the room, I feel like he's around that age where he'd be like, God, Mom, why are the cameras here? You know, like, just, but, yeah, I think, I love the audio description too, the specificity. I loved learning about the dog. There's a dog here. I think it's Bear. There's a dog, Bear. There's like a white lab, and like it's sometimes it like enters the room and it kind of like lumbers over. I love the description of how it walks because it's an older dog, and it's so Media Access Group uses like the kind of language that you would sort of use to describe how an older dog would walk instead of like a 1-year-old dog that would like charge you because it has all the energy in the world, instead of a dog that is like, I'm coming, I'll be there, give me a second. You know, I appreciated sort of knowing more about her syndrome. It's not maybe the detail into her treatment and stuff and explaining it, but also Celine could be doing a better job of explaining what's going on, knowing the camera's on her. She could be saying, so I have to do this in order to do this, and this is what's happening. I remember one scene, there was some stuff that was happening, I was suggesting, and she was like, I think I'll take it with my lunch. And I was like, take what with your lunch? And then, like, later on, she's sitting there with, like, an IV in her arm. And I'm like, does she not eat? Does, does, does she get intravenous food? Is food pumped into her somehow? Like, is there a tube? I was so confused. And it's like, it wasn't, like, really explicitly, she didn't say, this is what I'm doing. But, like, it was, like, suggested through her, you know what I'm saying? Like, through casual conversation. But in a documentary, it helps to actually, like, say what's happening when people don't know what stiff person syndrome is and, like, how to treat it, what you go through on a daily basis. It does kind of help to say, this is what's happening. This is what I have to do now. I have to do this because I have to put this there, because if I don't put this there, then this happens. It's even me with my blindness. When people ask me, because I wasn't always blind, so when I talk about the things that I do differently, I usually say, I used to do this, now I do this, because if I don't do this, then this happens. And then people are like, wow, that's interesting. And I'm like, yeah, for example, I was not an organized person before. If you had seen me and where I lived in my apartment and stuff before, everything was everywhere all at once. I was actually the inspiration for that movie. Somebody walked into my apartment and they're like, oh my God, this could be a movie. This is everything everywhere all at once. And then, yeah, so I should be getting residuals on that because I think I inspired it. I did everything because I didn't need to. I could look for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't need to make sense where it was. I was like, it's over there somewhere. It's underneath that. I don't know. I'll look for it. You know? Do you know, I kind of know what room it's in. I think it's over there. Like, I'll find it. I just kind of lived like that. Now, especially for like little things, it's like, oh my God, if I lost something that was really small, it would take me forever to find it. So everything has a place. I have like lots of little containers, and I explain shit like that to people so that people understand the difference. Like, this is where I was before, and this is where I am now, and this is what I had to do to get there, and this is why I do it. So, I feel like there's not that much here of that. So if the goal was to be like, hey, this is stiff person syndrome, do you understand it? At the end of this, I'd be like, kinda. More than I did. Certainly more than I did. But do I understand it with the certainty that I have coming out of maybe other documentaries like Still, which I think does a fairly solid job of explaining Parkinson's and how that works and what it does. Even though Parkinson's is a much more well-known disease, I feel like Still does a better job of explaining, and Michael does a better job of showing and explaining, this is what I have to do now. This is what my life is like now, you know? And also other documentaries, like the ALS documentaries. We just had one for Love and Life which is on Amazon, that is about a family, you know, pushing for legislation to help ALS families. And before that, there was Gleason, which it's too far out for me to remember and specifically say, did I feel like I learned a lot about ALS from Gleason? But of Love and Life, at least, kind of shows a little bit more of the direction, the progression of the illness and how quickly it can move because of the linear storytelling and that nature and the way that disease works. Here, I don't know that. I don't think the editing supported that as much. And Celine really wanted to talk to the fans, you know, and say basically that she's sorry, which she shouldn't be. She doesn't need to apologize to anybody. There was a really sad note where she's like, I feel like I can't. She's like, the hardest thing to do is to cancel a concert because I feel like if I cancel a show and then somebody comes up to me and they see me and I'm out with my family enjoying, they can come up to me and they have the right to say, hey, you know, I she just kind of like leaves it there, and I'm like, I get what you're saying, but they don't really still have the right, because we don't really know why you canceled the show. It's not like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, uh, Celine Dion cancels show due to extreme food poisoning, Like, Celine Dion cancels show due to explosive diarrhea. Well, we don't need to know that, but also that's something that you can get over. So if somebody sees you like 12 hours later and you seem fine, and they're like, wait a minute, I thought you were sick. It's like, well, I was on the toilet for 4, 5, 6 hours, which would have been during the duration of the concert. And then after that, I finally had shit out every single internal organ that I had, and now I'm here. So thank you for your concern. I mean, there are situations in which I would think people would use maybe like a logical leap, uh, and try to put things together. It's all about communication and how you do it. I think part of the thing was, when we talk about like concerts, we think about like Madonna leaving her audience just like sitting there for like hours, like waiting for her. And it's like, do we know what's happening? So, um, yeah, that's part of the key is just being honest in communication. And I think because the people who show up here are your fans. So if you're down now, they'll be sad that they missed you, but they also would be more sad if you ended up in the hospital because you pushed yourself when you shouldn't have and collapsed during the concert. And then they're like, oh shit, she collapsed for us. Damn. Well, I guess we don't get that anymore. So you don't necessarily have to feel like, I don't know, but that's how she feels. She feels like she's sort of beholden to her fans in many ways, and she wants to be there for her fans. And she gets asked really sad questions. Like her kid is like, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go? Or I don't know. I actually don't think it was her kid. It was a kid. And there were some kids at the beginning of the film that she's talking to. And she's like, would it surprise you if I told you that I've been everywhere, but I've seen nothing? And I thought that was somewhat profound, but she didn't really go into that. Like, because she didn't answer the question with what she would want to see. Like, I've been everywhere, but I've seen nothing. I would love to see the Eiffel Tower. Like, it just kind of went nowhere. It was very profound for a minute. Even like, I'd like to see it all that I should have seen before. Even if it was something that was like it was just kind of like left, and I was like, okay, we're going there. Sort of. No, we're not. It's an interesting documentary. I think people will like this. I think it's made for fans. I am a fan of Celine Dion's. I would say, oddly enough, even though, man, like they're All By Myself is a killer song. And you don't realize it until you like hear it in the thing. But I kept to listen. My low key Celine Dion is Because You Loved Me, which was in the movie Up Close and Personal. This is, yeah, I'm way in the weeds here. I love that movie. It's Michelle Pfeiffer and Robert Redford. If you've never seen it, it's again underrated, and I adore that song. And yeah, so I kind of wanted to hear that, but I didn't quite get that. So that was my like lack of Celine. I was like, when is that gonna get played? When's her performance of that coming? Yeah, so it talks about like her, why like it's hard for her to sing. She explains that. So some things are explained. And I don't know that the editing supports it. And I don't know that Celine fully grasped the concept of explaining everything. I think a lot of it is showing. And when I look at the audio description, I think the audio description did a good job. I was getting all sorts of random details, as much as I could, in terms of what was around her and what her house was like, and specific brands of shoes and handbags. But it's not the audio description's job to like slide in and be like, Celine takes this and has to do this because if she doesn't do this, then she's gonna get this. It doesn't, that's not audio description. That is maybe like a narrator's job if they had hired like a narrator for the film, but there's no narrator here. So, like Priyanka Chopra Jonas for Tiger, like that kind of thing. Um, this is okay. It's fine. I feel like a lot of people are gonna really like it. It's okay for me. I'm gonna give I Am Celine Dion a B. I appreciate her a lot, and I think this was probably really hard for her to be this vulnerable and this honest and have the camera following her around for this long. But I do wish it was someone else, and I realize I'm saying that about an Oscar-winning filmmaker. So, we're gonna just move on from that. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.